About everybody thinks that they can tell a joke. I mean, what do you need to do to be able to tell a good joke? First of all, you need to be able to recognize a joke. How many of you can recognize a good joke? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I think most of the time, people don't get it. And I'll tell you why. Jokes are exclusive. That's the point of jokes. We're in the group because we get it. And if you don't get it, you're outside the group. You don't get it. Okay? Some jokes are just silly. They're based on misunderstanding. Like the guy that goes to a barbecue on a weekend, and that day they have some great activities. They've got lawn games and food and barbecue, and he's participating in the sack race and doing all these things. And in the nighttime, there's a dance, and he's worried about, because he's kind of shy and he doesn't dance well, and he finally finds a girl to dance with, and he says, will you dance with me? They're dancing, and he's kind of embarrassed, and he says, hey, listen, I'm sorry about my dancing. It's just that I'm a little stiff from badminton. And she says, I don't care where you're from. Jokes on misunderstanding, they're great. Here's a joke that kids like. This is one of my favorite kid jokes. This chicken walks into a library. It says, book, 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 and the librarians are looking around, what in the world? Book, book, book. He hops up on the counter, and they spread some books on the table for him, and he's book, 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 and the chicken grabs one of the books and takes off. And the librarians are saying, that was weird. The next day, the chicken comes back in the library. He says, book, 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 book. So they set some more books on the counter, and he grabs one of the books and takes off. And the librarian says to the other one, the next time that chicken comes in here, if he comes back in, follow him. So sure enough, the chicken comes in the next day, and it says, book, 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 book. And they set out some more books, and he grabs a book and runs out of the library. So the other librarian follows him. And he goes under a tree by a pond, and there's a frog sitting there. And he spreads the books out there, and the frog says, read it, read it, read it. That's a good joke. It's just silly. It's only there to be silly. Now, when you tell a joke, here's some things you need to do. First of all, you don't ever explain it. Would a chicken really come in the library? Chicken would never really come in the library. You don't have to explain that. It's not important. You just tell it. And it's silly. Sometimes they'll say, oh, that's not funny. I don't understand it, but some people are offended by silliness. Sometimes it's because there's a reason why they find a certain joke offensive and it's not funny. I'll give you an example. When I was single, one time I told a joke about trains, about the guy getting in his car hit by a train. And the girl I was with said, oh, that's not funny. And I found out later that her father, once when he was in South America, had been walking by railroad tracks and had been hit by a train because the trains in this country were wider than the train. And I felt really bad. And then later on in the month, I was with a group of kids, and we drove past a fender bender accident, and I made a joke about the accident, and everybody kind of gave me a dirty look, and one of the girls that had been there had lost a family member in a car accident recently. Now, I had no way of knowing that, and I didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. And later on, one of the girls told a friend of mine, that Daryl Mangum, he thinks he's so funny. And I thought, well, yeah, you know, but I didn't know that there had been these tragedies. If you're going to tell jokes, and you want to tell jokes well, number one, you didn't bring your notes pads. I'm just kidding, you didn't have to bring notepads. You got to collect jokes. I bet most of these kids here collect jokes. Okay? When somebody tells a good joke, a good way to do it, to collect it, is write it down. That's why I have these cards here. See these recipe cards? If you like jokes, write them down. How many of you have a computer at home? Okay, you can make a file of jokes and collect them. Now, how many of you play a musical instrument or sing? Or play sports? How do you get good at sports or singing or a musical instrument? You gotta practice. Right? Jokes are no different. When I hear somebody say, I've got a joke, wait, everybody come here, I got a joke to tell. First of all, that's the first mistake. Never do that. You got a joke to tell, it's really funny. Just tell it. Don't gather everybody around. And then they do this. Okay, there's this guy. No, wait, it was a dog. No, okay, wait a minute. There was this horse. And I think, okay, you haven't practiced. You want us to laugh at your joke, but you're not ready. You haven't practiced your joke. So how do you practice your joke? You need an audience. I guess I'm kind of practicing jokes right now because I have you guys and I'm thankful you're here. You can ask somebody, before you get to your family reunion or somebody's birthday party, ask your mom or your sister or your neighbor to sit down so you can tell them some jokes. That's good practice. You got to relax. First of all, this is silliness. It's funny. So don't get too worked up about it and just start. Now, see this here? This microphone? We really don't need it. This is a small room. It's a prop. Okay, it's a prop. What kind of prop might you need? Maybe a funny hat, or a gesture, or a mannerism. I have a friend that whenever he's going to tell a joke, I always know because he sits back and crosses his legs. And I know Dan's going to tell a joke. You just start to tell your jokes. Like this joke, a grandma took her grandkids swimming at the beach. Her grandson, I think there was just one. And she's watching him playing in the water, and the water kind of gets rough, and the tide starts coming in, and the little kid gets washed out to sea. And the grandmother's horrified because she's watching her grandson float out into the bay. And she prays to God, and she says, please save my little grandson because we couldn't bear to lose him, and his parents would be devastated. Please save him. And just then a big wave lifts her grandson out and gently deposits him on the beach. And she runs over to him, and she kneels down, and she looks up, and she says, he had a hat.